retired Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano joining us now. When is Maduro going to go, and how does he leave? Can you tell me?
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is, but they should call it the anaconda strategy, because it's just tightening this news. And there's a couple important pieces that we haven't talked about. One is, look what's going on in Latin America, and the answer is nothing. There is no blowback about the ugly Americans pressuring Venezuela. You don't hear any of that. Matter of fact, you see Latin American nations moving closer to the U.S. They moved the OAS summit because that would have maybe been a platform for Venezuela and their allies to complain, and they just canceled the meeting and moved it to next year. You don't hear anything from the Europeans about complaining on this. You have some yahoos in the Congress that whine about droning the boats, but the reality is there is no cavalry coming to rescue Venezuela. Code Pink isn't in the streets protesting for Venezuela. So when it comes to Trump foreign policy, I'm still in the buy mode, because I think right now he's putting an enormous amount of pressure on this regime. I don't know where it ends, but this really must have Maduro just tied in knots.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a time limit on how long we wait for him to leave. I don't know what that time limit is, but it's not far after Thanksgiving, I would suggest. James, another story for you. The US and Ukraine have agreed on a new 19-point peace plan. It does not include Ukraine giving up territory in the Donbass region, apparently. Hours after peace talks, though, adjourned, Putin launched a new round of deadly strikes on Ukraine's Kyiv. 6 or 7 dead. Russia just keeps on pushing. When does that stop?
Right. Well, I got to say, watching all this is like putting on a blindfold and then, trying to watch a poker game, right? From the chatter and the news and the leaks and you can't make sense of any of that. So I don't even start to try. We'll probably never get a sign that the Russians are ready to make a deal until they just walk up and say, we'll make a deal, because they'll pressure and they'll push to the maximum extent they can till they can't anymore. So I'm not sure we're getting any early warning signals here. But I have to say, the only thing I really have to add is talking to Europeans that have actually been working with the U.S. on the peace plan and the Ukrainians. There is number one, a lot of respect for President Trump wanting to bring the war to the conclusion and willingness to engage with friends and allies and talk about this. Now, it may not be pretty, and Trump, he's like throwing different things at this to try to find what works. But Europeans and Ukrainians, I think, believe that President Trump is trying to end the war and preserve a Ukraine that's free and independent. And I think there's some respect for that. So I actually think the Allied camp is in pretty solid shape here, and it's not going to fold like a deck of cards.
Got it. I got one more for you. President Trump says he had a productive phone call with China's Xi Jinping, and they plan to meet in Beijing this April. Colonel, that could be a consequential summit if they could tie up some deals on trade, rare earths, even Taiwan. If they could come to an understanding in some kind of summit, that would be consequential. What do you think?
No. Look, I think that this is Ali and pick a guy in the ring, and they may take a pause, they may take a timeout, but that the level of trust is and the requirement for the Chinese to do the kinds of things that they actually have to do to take them off the top spot as our national security threat. I don't see the Chinese doing that yet. And I doubt that we'll see that. I think they're testing each other, they're pushing each other, and they'll maybe live with each other. But this competition is not going to wind up in a single meeting. I don't think we haven't. I would say this: we haven't seen evidence of that.
Got it. James Carafano, you always have a unique way of looking at things, and that was good. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Thanks, James.